Hello, hello, hello.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Genuinity Podcast with Justin and
Jessica.
Did you forget your name?
No, I thought you were going to say it for a second. So you're looking at me, so I was like, awkward pause.
I mean, I guess I could introduce you, but, what kind of gentleman would I be if I didn't let you introduce yourself? It's 2024.
This is true.
Equal rights and all. Introduce yourself, Anyways, fifth episode now.
Woohoo!
Of Genuinity, and we're talking on new mics. So we'll see if these make a auditory difference. I don't know if that's the right word, usage of that word or not, but I do that a lot. Make up words, put words where they don't belong. But anyways, yeah, I decided, you know what? Let's get fancy and let's get some new fun mics. And it's not like we're, they're not $500 mics or anything, but they're not the $50 mics we were using before. So, let us know if you hear a difference or not. Chances are not. But to us, it means a lot. It means a bigger difference. So anyways, welcome to episode 5. You know what? If you haven't listened to 1 through 4, some people would say you don't need to. But I'd say that's a lie. Turn this off right now. Go listen to 1 through 4 and then come back and listen to this one. Because guess what? We need the listens on the 1 through 4. We're doing better than I thought. Not as good as I hoped. But, we're just a little baby. We're just a little baby. It's a little baby podcast trying to make it through the world. If you're new to Genuinity, welcome to the podcast with me and my wife, Jessica. And it's really just a place for us to share our lives, share our journeys. We shared a lot about our foster journey, a lot about our process through that with our current little man and what we've gone through that. So go back and listen to those fostering episodes. That kind of gives an idea of what we've been through and what we're going through. We do have some updates with that, which is really awesome. We also have some updates in Jessica's life. Do you want to share what's going on in your world?
Sure. So I got a new job.
Woo woo!
After, I think, at the last place I was at, I was there for...
What were you doing before?
I was an administrative assistant, executive administrative assistant at a...
Throw that extra executive on it. Slap it.
At a law firm. I'm not going to say what firm, but...
Tell you what, it wasn't Grossman and Grossman.
It was not. Yeah, it could have been, but it was not. I was there for almost 11 years. So I decided to make a career change.
Understatement of the year.
And yeah, I am now working at Chick-fil-A.
It sounds...
Chicken-fil-A.
That sounds so much... I don't know the right word for that, but it when you say, I now work at Chick-fil-A, the image that people get, and even the image I got at first, was like, hi, this is Jessica. Welcome to Chick-fil-A. How may I take your order?
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but I'm still have the title administrative assistant. So
not administrative assistant.
Oh, no,
you got to throw that extra.
No,
executive.
The title I was given was just administrative assistant. Although I was told I could title myself whatever I wanted.
Passenger and princess.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I'm on a new journey with completely new company, new industry, new everything that I know absolutely nothing about.
Does that scare you?
Yeah.
Like, what was the difference?
So
the experience of first leaving your job, what was it like in your job? Then what was it like to leave your job? And then what was it like potential new endeavor? And then what is it like now being in that endeavor? That's a lot of questions, but I feel like it's a sequence of events though. So I want to hear it.
I grew up, this long story long, I grew up at my first job where I worked. I kind of grew up there. I started doing summer gigs. My mom worked there and she kind of got me in the door. And I started doing summer gigs there where I would come like in high school and even like in college. They would hire me for the summers to come do like random odd things like file and just like little little project type jobs. And so I think I started working there when I was like 15 for like summers and holidays.
It's child labor.
But yeah. So I would work there summers and holidays. And then when I finally graduated college, I was like in the mindset of I'm not working here. One, because my mom worked there, and two, because I just didn't want to work there. And lo and behold, they offered me a job. I was like actively searching for a job, but everything was like crap pay.
Was this out of college?
This was out of college. I had a degree, a business degree, and it was just like crap pay, and everything was just super far from where I lived, and it just didn't make sense. Which I guess most college people, like when they graduate college, you kind of have like that entry level.
Yeah, I think there's a misconception that like people tell us, and even now, even more so, it's like when you graduate, you got to go to college so you can get that 6-figure job, and it's like, good luck finding a 6-figure job at college.
So they offered, I mean, they weren't really offering me that much more money, but benefit wise, it was like pretty legit. So
yeah, I mean, insurance paid for.
Yeah. And so that's how I ended up there. And then I was like, when I graduated college, I wasn't really set on a degree necessarily. It was kind of one of those things that they made me decide, like, hey, it's your junior year, you need to pick a major. And I went to college when I was like, I had just turned 18. So I really didn't have like a game plan for what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I went the easy route, got a business degree. I even like considered going back to school for nursing. I went and talked to like an academic advisor. Like I was all over the map. Like I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So at the time when I got hired, I was hired as a legal assistant because one of the attorneys that worked there was like, hey, have you ever thought of, doing paralegal work? And I was like, well, that's just like a certificate. Like I could get a certificate. It's only like a year or two to complete that. So I thought about it. And then fate happened, and the lady that had worked with my mom for a very long time ended up leaving the company.
Chunking the deuce.
And that's kind of how I ended up back working with my mom. So I did work with...
Which has been done wonders for our family dynamic and marriage all these years.
I did work with my mom for almost 11 years. And then we had an amazing boss. He was phenomenal. Unfortunately, I think it was probably in 2017, 2018, he got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and within 6 months, he passed away. And so then that kind of started the reign of terror. That
you don't need to go too.
Yeah. So anyways, it just became a really toxic place to work, and I was desperate. I was done. I'd been done for a very long time, probably for like 2 or 3 years, and just complaining every day. And I had interviews at some really big companies like that had just kind of like landed in my lap. I just hadn't nailed anything necessarily. Like I'd gone to interview with different people and just hadn't worked out for whatever reason. And we happened to know the owner at one of the Chick-fil-A locations local to us, and he kind of offered me a job with the assistance of my husband, asking him to offer me a job. And so that's kind of how I ended up at Chick-fil-A. And it honestly, I feel like God has me on this path of uncertainty because it really doesn't make sense financially or really any other way. I took a pay cut. I have like 0 vacation time because lo and behold, I'm learning that the food industry, there is no time off. It's go, go, go all the time.
It's not that you don't have
keep everyone
time
fed.
off. It's just paid time off.
And so...
But you're starting fresh.
It's starting fresh. It's something that I know nothing about. Also, Chick-fil-A is known for promoting from within. So a lot of the people that I work with have worked there their entire careers. They started at the bottom and they've grown to the top. I kind of got thrown somewhere in the middle. Like,
yeah, I mean, for like I said, it sounds confusing whenever you say you work for Chick-fil-A now, but essentially you came on as an executive assistant or an administrative assistant to handle a lot of essentially what you're doing at the law firm, but now you're doing it for a food business, which is, of course, there's always going to be adjustments and changes and laws.
But it's also a learning curve, because it's learning learning how the food industry works. So things that like I've never dealt with, from like just like guesstimating how much food they're gonna need for a day to like how much surplus there is or how much exit. Like,
when you're going from like 40 employees to like 140 employees.
Yes, and it's also an age variance. And I was working with nothing but like middle-aged people. Now I'm probably one of the older.
You are the middle-aged person.
I know, exactly. Like most of the people that I work with are 25 or younger. I am 30. I will be 34 in July. So I'm 33 right now. So I'm not like that. I'm not middle-aged just yet, but I'm getting pretty close. So it's also learning that dynamic of like, also, something else I'm discovering about working at a fast food place. A lot of these kids it's a job for them. So it's like they're in college. Well, yeah, it's
a job for you too.
Or they're in high school. But this
you mean like it's not a career choice?
This isn't like a career for them. Like where I worked, these people were invested in, like, obviously they're lawyers and it's their practice, and these people have been doing this for 40, 50 years. And here, it's just a different dynamic. It's like work probably isn't their first priority. And so it's just all very different. But I will say this culture, and maybe it's because it is like a kid setting, and maybe there's some truth in like childlike mind mentality, but it's just so much. Like, there's just a lot more joy. Like, people, and it's wild to think, because it's even the older ladies. So there are older people. Most of them are Hispanic, and they're like the kitchen ladies. And they're probably like, you know, like grandmas or like my mom's age. So like 50, 60. And they enjoy coming to work. Like, it's wild. And it's like manual, like it's like hard work. They're back there cutting up chicken and like cooking and doing, and they're slinging chicken, like, it's a different kind of close quarters mentality. It's kind of like what we were when I was doing retail. It's like you're in close proximity for long hours until you become, I hate that term where it's like, Olive Garden, when you're here, you're family. But it's like, every corporate environment says like, what's it like to work here? It's like, well, we like to think we're just one big family. And that's usually like BS for essentially like big family, meaning we brush all of the crap under the rug and we keep acting like everything's fine. But in this type of environment you're in, you don't have that ability, because you're in close proximity. You're dealing with each other day in and day out on a very you have to kind of deal with your crap. Yeah. And then don't get me wrong, they get into tiffs, because I've only been around for like a couple weeks and I've already heard some drama. But like for the most part,
she's joking, Graham, there's no drama.
And everybody's like pretty chill, and like it's such a different environment. I will say, like, even the kids are like excited to be there, probably because it's not toxic, it's life-giving in the sense that like you come to a place, like it's so different than the place that I came from, where it's like everyone showed up to work because they're responsible adults, but they hated their job. But it was like a task. It was like something that they had to do because they have kids, or they have families. They have to provide for their families. This is a little bit different.
What was your anxiety like going into the job, and like leaving your job, going into this new one? And then what's it like now that you've been like 3 weeks in?
So leaving my job, I didn't anticipate how emotional it was going to be.
In what way?
Because I felt like it was closing a chapter of my life.
Gotcha.
Because that's where I was going with this. I completely went off on a tangent. But it felt like I was closing a chapter of like something that was like huge in my life. I had worked there for 11 years. I grew up there. And then also like after saying goodbye to everybody, like the owners that I've known, like we're literally like, we've watched you grow up. Like
But there's
it's
also,
not
like-
every day that we get to watch you grow, like watch someone grow up.
They said that, but there's also no conversation of like, hey, why are you leaving? What's
Yeah.
going on? Is there something we can do? It was just like, oh, it's going to be sad to see you go.
Yeah.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
That's true. But yeah, so that to me, it's like it was my own thing. It was just like it felt like a chapter closing. And anytime you close a chapter, at least for me, it's not exciting. I don't like change. I'm a creature of habit.
Yeah.
Even though I do like new things and new experiences, like I don't like change. It scares the crap out of me. So it was definitely something that I was like, God, I don't know why I'm doing this. And I even told people that were around me that were like encouraging me and like praying with me in this like transition season, because I wasn't sure. So there was also the option of me potentially becoming a stay-at-home mom. Like that was something that was put on the table as well, because I didn't know, I didn't have the Chick-fil-A job. I quit my job before I was even offered a job. I had other job interviews that I had interviewed for, and I hadn't heard back from those companies either. And so it was something that I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. It doesn't make sense necessarily, but I know this is the right thing to do.
Like, what was the confidence that...
A faith. It was my own faith.
Gotcha.
Like, I think it was just I just felt at peace with it. And I think I'm learning that like when I feel at peace with something, then it's probably the right direction to go to, even though it's like a very...
It doesn't mean you weren't scared.
Stressful.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you weren't
Yeah.
scared or worried or whatever.
Yeah, I just felt like God had it handled. Like I was like, whether that was my own mind or whether it was actually true, like I just felt, I was like, God's got this. Like whatever, wherever I land, God's got this. And so I walked away from that job. And then
What was it like whenever walking into a new environment, and then like what's it now, like 3 weeks in?
So walking into Chick-fil-A, I was terrified. So the day that I walked in, I believe there was like a morning rush. It wasn't free breakfast because they've been doing free breakfast all of the month of February on Tuesdays, but I think it was a Thursday, and I think it was like late arrival or something. So I walked in at 8:00, and Chick-fil-A is packed. Like there's a line out the door, and I'm like walking in, and I'm like, oh crap, like they're gonna throw me up front and they're gonna make me start bagging and doing.
Which is funny is because
And I'm
your
like-
dream is to work a cash register.
No, okay, so I do have this like secret obsession since I was a little kid with cash registers.
You
Like,
made me buy Elijah an HEB
he
aisle cash
loves
register,
it.
but deep down it was for you, and I knew that.
He loves it. But
So you want to go grocery
I
shopping? Do you want to get groceries?
yeah, except he never charges you, so he's
No,
grocery,
he
his
doesn't.
grocery
Normally, does
store
he not
never makes-
charge you? But he rings up groceries twice.
Anyway, so I showed up. I was terrified, and I'm like, what? Like I was asking for a particular person, and luckily one of the front of house ladies, she's really, really sweet, older lady. She was like, are you looking for someone in particular? Because I had my little Chick-fil-A name tag on. And clearly they didn't know who I was because they know each other. And I was like, yeah, I'm looking for so-and-so. And so she was like, okay, let me go get her. And so then I went to the back, and then I was away from like the chaos. And so to this day, I've yet to work like the actual floor. I only go up there when I have to like clock in and clock out,
Yeah.
which even like that is terrifying because people think that I'd like work the register sometimes. And I'm like, no, let me get someone to take your order because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing.
Just take the food. Just take it.
Yeah.
Just take it.
And then also like when I'm like, if I do eat at Chick-fil-A, you have to ring up your own food and like essentially like cash it out. And that for whatever is a very complex thing for me. So I have to get someone to help me every single time. And it's really embarrassing because I'm supposed to be like, I'm not their boss, but I'm supposed to be like, like a,
Superior.
I guess, yeah, technically, but not really because I really have no authority. So
my daughter.
anyway, so the front and that part terrifies me. The office work, it's like, It's just different. It's a different accounting system, different, like the way they do everything is just different. So it's like learning all of those practices. So it's kind of like,
I mean, but aside from like the actual ins and outs, how are you emotionally, mentally, now that you've settled in versus your previous job? I'm curious less about the
job itself.
Yeah, and like more about just you and what do you think this is a good choice for you mentally,
I
emotionally?
think mentally, I'm a lot lighter.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I've noticed that too. Like you're more tired, but it's like because you've had just a busy day.
Yeah.
But you're not coming home like pissed off or coming home annoyed or frustrated or, because there's a bunch of shit talking going on. Like
Yeah. And I mean, like, maybe it's also because I'm like the noob that I'm like, I don't know. But I genuinely don't believe this is I truly don't believe this is a toxic environment in that the same toxicity that was there. But yeah, I'm definitely lighter. I think it's less stressful too, in the sense that like a lot of my job before was a lot of deadlines. And this job is not this way. Like it was like a massive amounts of work.
It's task oriented.
And I had to get it done like within a certain time. And like I'm great with tasks. I'm great with like deadlines. But when you get really good at them, people take advantage. And that's kind of what was happening at my old job, to the point where it was just like I was always stressed out. I was angry. I wasn't happy. And yeah, so I feel a lot lighter. I'm happier. I think God's still working on my heart. And like I said, I still don't know the purpose of why I now work at a fast food restaurant.
It's not fast food, and I don't know what he calls it. I always forget because he corrects me sometimes, the owner, and I forgot what he calls it, but I think it's called, I don't want to say fast food, but I know it's called quick service or something like that. But
quick service food?
It's not fast food.
I don't know the right term.
Ask them tomorrow what it's called. I'm sure your cohorts will be able to answer, but I know it's not fast food.
But I don't know why I work at the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
The Chick-fil-A.
It's the only one I know.
But I do. And I'm glad that, I am glad that I made the move. I'm glad that I'm taking a risk. And a part of me too is like kind of like brought out this like Jessica that I haven't seen in a while, like the Jessica that likes to explore and like learn new things, and like it's something different. I'm like all in, whether it's the right decision or the bad decision, I'm all in. So here I am, and I'm trying something new, and whatever happens, happens. And that's kind of like my mindset currently. But I'm excited for the future. I'm excited. I like the people that I work with. They're all very helpful, and they're great teachers and mentors. And so I feel like I'm learning a lot, and it's like very fast-paced learning. It's not like, I'm having to catch on right away to what they're doing, because it's like throwing you in the deep end and see if you swim. Yeah. It's kind of how I feel most of the time, because again, I know nothing of the fast food industry. I've never worked food. I've never worked any food industry. I was never a waiter. I was never a hostess. I was never like any of those jobs. Never did them. So it's all very, very new. But I'm glad that I made this decision, and I'm glad that I'm trying something new.
Yeah, so. I'm proud of you. I'm proud that I've been an advocate of getting out of your previous job since we started dating, I think, just because I knew that it was volatile and it wasn't great for your mother-daughter relationship, just working that closely together in that capacity. So it's been the change in both you and your mother's life separately has been noticed, and then the change in y'all's relationship together has changed and been noticed. And I think it's just because y'all don't, like, the conflicts y'all were having at work were coming home with y'all, and now you don't have the conflicts at work. Yeah. So there's really not much like interpersonal conflict going on. And a lot of it was based off of work stuff.
I kind of enjoy not seeing her every single day. I know.
Well, who would? Awful. No, but who would? Like it prevented us. It didn't prevent us, but like when you see your parent or even your significant other every single day in that capacity, you don't necessarily want to see them outside of those hours or whatever it is. So now when we see them, it's more intentional and it's more relational. And me and your dad don't have to sit there listening to y'all talk about drama of what's going on at the office and who's screwed over who and who's done wrong and who's this or whatever. So that's nice for us and as a family. And you're closer to home, so you don't have the commute. So you're not sitting in a car an hour or two and an hour from. Like, you're a little bit more freer when you get home, even though you are a little bit more tired. But that's from learning a new job. And so I've seen your energy level kind of go up. And of course you've been a little bit sick the last week.
So
anyways, I mean, other than that, I also
enjoy being able to drop Elijah off at school. Like, as crazy as that and dumb as that sounds, like, it's fun to be able to like kiss him and say, "See you later, dude." And most of the time he doesn't even pay me any mind, but every once in a while he'll be like, "Bye, mommy," or he'll say, "That's my mommy."
Yeah, it was rough for me for a while, just because he would koala and sometimes make it difficult to drop him off, and it was just like a completely out of my way. It's about out of both of our ways, but it added like 20 minutes to my mornings out of the way. It used to be on the way, and then since he's been at this new daycare, it's out of my way. So it's helped me a lot, even in the mornings, because I still have to drive to the Woodlands, and that's an hour drive sometimes in the morning. So I appreciate that side of things, and I'm glad we're figuring out new norms. And as far as the money stuff and insurance and all that, like, that's all gonna be a wash, and we're not really worried about all that, thankfully.
We are blessed in financially, so we haven't, even though it is a pay cut, I don't think it's gonna affect us majorly. So it's allowed me to try something new. I'll keep you updated because the story's still being written.
Yeah, and I think it's weird, like, I think our jobs are such a defining. I don't know. Our jobs, we find so much personal attribute. I don't know what I'm trying to say. We find so much of our identity in our jobs, especially as millennials. I think we want our jobs to be an extension of who we are. And so when we're miserable at our jobs, it sometimes affects our identity, like, because we kind of get them wrapped up in each other, and like we want to find fulfillment in our job instead of like generations before. It's like a job is a job. Like, you go to work, you come, like, you work. What is it saying? Like, you work to live, not live to work. And that's fine and dandy. But I think as millennials, we realized, like, dude, you spend almost the same amount, if not more time at work than you do at home.
Yeah, and I think that's where I got caught up on making the decision to work for Chick-fil-A. It's like, I feel like God was really working on my heart. Just a pride issue of like, I don't want to go work at a Chick-fil-A. Like, I went to college for 4 years. I've worked at a really prestigious law firm for the last 11. And like, wouldn't that kind of be like a demotion? But it's definitely, I think part of what I'm learning is that, like, my identity is not wrapped up in what I do or who I am. And he's also blowing my mind because he's like, look, sucker, Chick-fil-A is better than your law firm that you worked at. These people actually care about you.
Well, I think for the first time in your life too, you, at least since we've been together, when we first started dating, you were also a coach, like a volleyball coach.
And so and I love that.
Right. And so I think you found some identity in that. And then when we got married, I was doing youth ministry, and so you're helping out with that. And so you had extracurricular things. And then I think for a while we just had and at least for me, I'll speak for myself, a lot of parents, when they have kids, part of their identity is mom and dad. Like, it is an adjustment, and they learn to find their identity in being a mom or a dad. And for me, at least, it was hard for like the first year, even accept the fact that, like, I'm a dad.
Yeah.
Like, there's always an asterisk, like foster dad, not just dad. And so, like, for whatever reason, that felt lesser than. And then So then you have to kind of wrestle with that. And then once he started vocalizing and calling us, mommy and daddy, then it was like, okay, well then you can't really deny when a kid is looking you in the eyes and being like, dad or daddy or whatever. And it's like, okay, I am this kid's dad. Like whether, it's blood or biological or, official, like I'm this kid's dad for all intents and purposes. And so we finally got to a place where it's like, I think over the last year where we could find our identity as parents and kind of settle in that and know that we don't know how long, but we know eventually we're going to be officially this kid's 90%. We're going to be this kid's like forever parents. And so we kind of slowly got to find some identity in that as parents. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Being his parents, creating the best habitat and environment for him. And then you also started leading worship at church.
Yeah.
And then, I started getting back into youth ministry and also leading worship. And so I think those things helped you pull some of your attachment to your job away and connect it to, oh no, I'm a mom, I'm a worship leader, these things, whatever. So you felt less attached to your job.
Yeah.
To where it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's just making money. And I think, which I'm from outside, that's my perspective. I don't know if that's what you've actually experienced, what you've gone through.
Well, I think with the heart change that I'm kind of going through right now is more of like my identity, whatever it is, whether it's mom, whether it's, a coach, I work at Chick-fil-A, or a Chick-fil-A employee, or a wife, or any of that. It's more of like stripping it all down, and like at the core of who I am, I'm a child of God. I'm a worshiper first. I'm a believer, and that is my identity should be wrapped in Jesus, not in my own pride and my own what I feel like I should be portrayed as, if that makes sense. I think he's kind of breaking down those walls, but then he's also like throwing, fire at me, because Chick-fil-A is actually a pretty freaking cool place to work at, and I'm really enjoying it.
Who wouldn't love to be around the Lord's chicken all day long and those waffle fries? Although, CFA, if you're listening, what's the deal with taking away well done? I know there might be some people listening like, what the heck is Justin talking about? Well done. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter because it doesn't exist anymore. But well done used to pull up and be like, I want my fries well done, which essentially meant crispy. I want my chicken well done, which meant crispy. And I guess it was just holding up their lines too long. So they
probably
took it out, and you can't get well done fries anymore. But anyways, who can't be in a great spirit? You come home smelling like Chick-fil-A, which you asked me the other day, like, well, that's just your dream, smelling like, have your wife smelling like Chick-fil-A, smelling like a snack.
I know, I was like,
smelling like a whole snack.
Those were actually my words. I was like, do I smell like a snack right now? But yeah, anyway, I think God's really working on my heart with just identity in general. But I had the heart tug of like being a stay-at-home mom, and it's like wrapping my identity fully in like mom, because that is like my purpose. And,
but let's be real.
And my calling. I was thinking about this the other day, like for both of us, because that's something I've always struggled with, is like, what is my calling? What is my calling? What is my calling? And like when I turned 30, I'm like, what is my calling? Like, I know your calling is to speak. Like, you're a great, phenomenal speaker, but what is my calling? What am I good at?
And we already know what everybody's calling is.
Yes, but I meant like,
I think we get so wrapped up in that.
I think I mean specifically.
But you also I think you get so focused on what is your calling, and I think you are walking in your calling and you don't realize it. But also I think you struggle with what's your passion. Like we've talked about that our entire relationship is, what you've asked is like, you don't have any hobbies. Like you're not a hobby person.
No.
Like you're not like somebody that like, I like to reading. Reading is your hobby. Like you have a passion for reading and you do that quite often. And like you go through books so quickly. So like that's your hobby. And I think because that is not that's like a personal solo thing, but you still find fulfillment, you still find enjoyment, you still find pleasure in that. And it's like you are already doing what your calling is as believers. If we get like spiritual with it, like all Christians' calling is to share God's word and to, you know, bring more disciples to God and share. And that's what you're doing as a worship leader. So it's like you're doing that on Sundays. And so, I mean, you're already kind of walking in that. I think you think of it sometimes as just like singing, and you forget the spiritual aspect of it. That is literally, that's part of it. Now, that's not to say like,
I was thinking more of like being called as a foster parent. Like, never in a million years.
I still don't think we're foster parents. Like,
being called to be Elijah's mom.
But that's that's not a calling. That's a purpose.
We just got his like redacted files, and just reading through that, I got so emotional as I'm reading through like all of this history that they have on his family. And it's like, this could have been his life. Like, this could have been him. And it's just like, and I don't say this to like brag on us, because I don't think, I think wherever he would have ended up, he would have been better off. But just to be like, I don't
He would have been better off with us, not wherever he would have ended up. He would have been better off.
Like, even if he would have ended up with another foster family, he probably would have ended up in a good home. But at the end of the day, like, whatever plan or purpose God has for this kid, like, his anointing has been on him since day one. And I don't know why, but he's gonna have a completely drastic life than what he was born into. And maybe every mom says this, but I truly, truly believe that this kid has an anointing on his life. And I don't know if we're gonna help it or like make it, you know, kind of diminish that, but we're trying our best. But I truly, truly believe this kid is destined for great things. And I am so excited, and I hope and pray that I'll be alive to see it all come to fruition. But I am so excited to see what he does when he gets older, because I don't know why. I don't know why God chose him, but I truly believe he was meant to be our baby.
Yeah, I mean, he's blended so well into our family. It's so and we you know, it's the age-old question, right, of like nurture versus nature. And it's like, how much of his personality would have been his personality regardless, and how much of his personality is due to who we are as parents. And it's so crazy to look at a kid who doesn't have any biological connection to us, but acts like us, like his childhood demeanor has been very similar to the way I would have imagined my biological son being, for better or worse. He's such a ham. He has comedic timing for a 2.5-year-old. And I know that like I say that in the sense of like, I'm sure all parents talk about their kids that way, but like my biggest fear, if this sounds so conceited, was like, or not conceited, but shallow, is like, I didn't want an ugly kid. and I can say that because it's not ours. So I feel like we can say it like subjectively, or like objectively rather, that like if we would have gotten an ugly kid, like I don't know what I would have done.
You like send him back?
And because people are always like, well, you wouldn't know if your kid's ugly because it's your kid, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like part of the thing that activates in parents, they say, is that it's a mirrored, you're like looking at yourself, and that's why you love your kids so much, is because it's literally like looking at yourself. So really it's kind of like a, you know, but this kid, for whatever reason, we look at him and we see ourselves in him, which is crazy to say. I don't know if it's because he's Hispanic and he's brown and, you know, has all the same features as we do. But I mean, I honestly had visions of what our kid would have looked like. And this kid has fit every personality trait or every characteristic that I think we would have wanted in a kid. And it's so crazy to think that. Like, it's crazy to think that what we went through as a family and then feeling like we were having to settle for fostering, and then to get a kid that doesn't feel like settling at all, that feels like he's a blessing, and to feel like he is fulfilled every desire that I had, at least, is crazy to think about. Like, there's no other way to express that other than, like you said, we were called to be his parents. Like, he was called to be our kid. And I get so emotional about that.
We were the blessed ones, because he's been a blessing to our family. And again, we go back to that like whole foster parent thing, where people are like, y'all are so fantastic for taking these kids in, and I'm like, no, man. You've got us all wrong. We're not foster parents. Yeah. We're Elijah's parents
for sure. So, like, we have no desire, because we got asked by his CPS was like, well, if we have siblings from coming to play later down the line, would you want to? And we're like, I don't know. Like, we're kind of good with this little dude.
If they're as cute as him, maybe. I don't know. That's just so...
We're not closing the door, but I'm just saying, like, it's like, for me, we've talked about it. Like, we're open, like, we're literally, like, figuratively and literally open to fostering a little girl, and the intentions of adopting, and opening meaning our house is open in the technical sense of the foster care system. So like we are technically an open home for a placement, and
I'm believing for that. Right now, so there was a time,
if it's meant to happen,
there was a time probably like a few months ago when I was like actively, vividly having dreams of this little girl, and we talked about it. I was like, I am having dreams of a baby girl, and I was like, I don't know what she looks like, but I'm having like dreams of us getting a baby girl.
Yeah.
And now that desire is kind of like just tucked in the back of my mind, just because we've been so busy, I haven't really had time to think about it. But I never had dreams of Elijah, so I truly believe that desire is there for a reason. But at this point, I'm like, God, your timing is your timing.
He's such a handful.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and try to like
We're in full toddler
force something either. So yeah, and Elijah is 100% like all the time. So,
and the crazy thing that, like, for those people that don't have kids, like, I don't remember anybody ever talking to me or around me. We have friends that have kids, and nobody's ever talked about how much kids freaking change you.
Yeah.
Like, we were afraid of jacking up a kid because of our own issues and our own junk, but like, nobody ever talks about how much kids change you. And honestly, I don't know how to say this without putting like bumpers on it, but it's like, I feel like if you are not changed by your children, and this is a professional parent speaking right now, okay? So listen up. I feel like if you are not changed by your kids and through parenting, you're doing it wrong. Like, and I know we're expert parents now because we've been doing it 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
And with one, but listen, okay?
Hey, I think that's why I think children were created for that purpose. I think that was God's alternate, plan all along, was
he's
for kids to change us, for kids to teach us, for kids to like push us in every direction, every emotion. And I think it's the perfect example of, Daddy God and us, like, as stupid as it sounds. But I think
we don't say Daddy God in this house. That was a one-time thing.
I think that's like the perfect example of how he relates to us, and it's even, and that's just like what we experience is just like a tinge of the love that he has for us. So it's just, yeah, kids will mess you up, man. They'll make you cry, laugh. You'll experience every emotion. It's like living in Texas, where you'll experience every season.
No, I was like, I'm not following that metaphor.
You'll experience every season
simile.
in like 2 hours. You'll experience every emotion in 2 hours.
Oh, gotcha.
With a child or a toddler.
That was a long way of getting
it's like a love-hate, cuddly crying, I can't stand you, get out of my face.
Well, that's not, I
and
mean,
then we're like
yeah.
cuddling on the couch.
I mean, yeah, you're experiencing all of the human existence sometimes in one day. But what I mean by truly changing you, and if you're not, there's two ways of doing parenting. And again, this is from an expert perspective, is that, at least for me, there's been two ways that I've come at parenting. One is surviving. It's trying to make sure this little human stays alive. And and I don't know if part of that was because that's literally what we were hired to do, was just make sure he stays alive.
Which was a really hard feat because the kid gets sick a lot.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's like a legitimate thing that like comfortability and all of those other things are like kind of second in fostering. Like, number one, I'm sure that's in general parenting is number one, keep them alive. Like that, now that I say that out loud, that's just all parents. But like, that was literally kind of our modus, operate. I forgot what the Latin phrase is, but that was our mode of operation, was like modus
apparatus.
Apparati. I don't know.
I don't know. It's
Latin
in
word
Gilmore Girls.
for,
I know that.
Yeah. Anyway, was like surviving, right? Just like doing whatever we could to get through the day. And it's like, all right, we made it through freaking Monday. Kid's asleep. Great. Take a deep breath. He's alive. And I'm also going to check the monitor all night to make sure he stays alive. And sometimes check his room 2 or 3 times throughout the night to make sure he's still breathing. Like, I did that so much. Like, I was the crazy lunatic parent that was doing that. And I did that for a while. And part of it, I think, is because we were, in my mind, the responsibility was his welfare, not love, affection, raising a child.
You make it sound like we didn't love.
No, but I'm saying my focus wasn't on that. It was just on it was wrapped up in just all of the minutia of this fostering process. And I think I've moved, being that we've gotten to a more concrete place, which, update on that situation, is that we've finally gotten the ending of his biological mother's process of trying to get him back has officially ended as of tomorrow, I think would be official, or the mandate has come down. He has a hearing tomorrow, which I think is just an update. But essentially, her ability to get him back has ended. And so now, over the next month or two, we're going to be starting the process of adopting him. So hopefully within 2 months, by the end of April, hopefully he'll be adopted.
Unless something crazy happens.
Which
it could happen.
So now when we got that notice, like a couple weeks ago, like such a huge weight came off of my shoulders, because it's just a tension of like not knowing. And anyway, through over the last year, moved into this less of surviving and more of connecting and like being a dad.
Well, I think a lot of it too has to do with the fact that he can vocalize his thoughts now. So it's like hanging out with a little buddy, but it's like a little best friend that's always like wants something from you.
Yeah, but I think I've gone through more psychological changes. Like, he's had a psychological effect on me. Like, not just emotional, from like, oh, he's so cute, oh, he loves me, oh, I'm feeling this unconditional love. Like, I think through all of that that emotional attachment, he's changing me psychologically to where like he is forcing me to recognize issues that I knew I had maybe but didn't want to fix or work on or acknowledge. And he's forcing me to come like head on with issues that I've had since childhood, and like realizing like I don't want to put the same messed up things that I grew up with, I don't want him to grow up with. And it's not a knock at my upbringing. Like, my mom did the best that she could with what she had and the cards that she was dealt, which weren't great. Like, and that's for another day, but like weren't great. And I don't want him to carry my same baggage that I have now. I don't want to put that on him and make him deal with that as he gets older. I want to be able to deal with my crap now and be better for him so that he is being raised by as healthy of a person as possible. And that's not just physical health, although daddy's turning into a zaddy real quick over here.
Okay.
Doing them 9 rounds. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Shout out to 9 rounds.
Calm down.
They're a sponsor of this body, not the podcast. And so not just physically, but like mentally, emotionally, and like psychologically, of being there for him the way that he needs versus reacting to him based off of my trauma. Like, I don't want that. Like, I've found myself doing that so much that, like, I don't want to react to him based off of my trauma and based off of my childhood reactions and the childhood. That's a big thing that I've been going through in my, I've been doing therapy on my own, and then we started marriage counseling a couple weeks ago, and we can talk about that next week on our next episode. But something I've been going through personally with my therapy sessions was just like dealing with childhood trauma. And, I'm not 15-year-old Justin anymore. My defense mechanisms 15-year-old childhood defense mechanisms don't have a place in 35-year-old Justin's life, you know, and I don't want those defense mechanisms to block me from having a better relationship with E and being a present father, dad, not even a father. I had a father. I want him to have a dad.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I just think it's to really recognize, like, nobody told me that. Like, nobody told me that when you have a kid, they're going to jack you up. Like, they're going to make you emotional. They're going to make you second guess everything about your life because it's a little person calling you out on your shit one way or another. Like,
and he's like the first one to call us out on anything and everything. Like, that is real life. Because I'll catch myself just like when he gets on my nerves and I'm just being mean to him, and I'm like, he's only been alive for 2 years, Jessica. Like, why are you being so mean to him? Even though he's asked me for something lately. Like, his newest thing is he has a new phone. And so he yells.
But by phone, we don't mean like iPhone.
No, we mean a toy phone.
It's a toy VTech, but it does have a little screen on it.
But it has numbers, and
it's a learning device.
And as far as he's concerned, it is his phone.
He makes phone calls.
Yeah, and he calls people all the time on his phone.
Hello.
And so
Elijah.
And he yells at me from the back seat, like,
Mommy.
When it's just us, like no one else is in the car, and he's like, "Mommy, where's my phone?" and like loses his mind because he wants his phone. So it's like days like that where I have to remind myself, like, he's 2. He's only been alive for 2 years.
That phone is
24
his whole
months.
world.
Yeah, like I can't raise my
30
voice.
months
I gotta be a little patient with this guy. Yeah, parenting is hard, guys. We're definitely not experts, even though the state says that we are because we're paid. But we're learning day by day, and this little boy has completely disrupted our world. They also don't tell you like how adding a child to a two people dynamic can completely disrupt your world. Even our animals, like our pets, he's completely disrupted their world and their dynamic amongst our little family pyramid. And so they're trying to figure out like their new norm, and they're struggling because they're not the center of attention anymore.
I used to watch some millennials and older people would know what Def Comedy Jam was. And the few select people, I sincerely want to know this. So if you're listening to this podcast, which that's a stupid thing to say because if I'm saying it, you're listening to it, comment, find a way to send me a message and let me know that you know what Def poetry was. Like, I grew up watching Def poetry. It's got me into poetry, and made me want to do spoken word and writing and all that stuff, which I did for a little bit. But anyways, there's a poet on there who talks about being a dad, and I got to find that poem and I'll post it on our Genuinity Instagram, genuinity.pod on Instagram. And it talks about him being one. And when he got married, it was 1 + 1 = 1. And it's, because when you get married, you become one with each other. And then, he said, and then 1 + 1 = 3. And it was essentially the family, right? Like bringing him in and trying to, it was exactly what I'm talking about, of like having him deal with all of his childhood drama and stuff like that and trauma, and now having this family of 3, but also still being one. And that's, I think, been hard to reconcile for us, where it's like, is now that we're getting closer to it,
Yeah.
it's like we're finally going to be like, it's going to be real.
I know and that's weird to say, because he's been in our life. For all intents and purposes, he's been our kid for the last 2.5 years. But like, come to like 2 months from now, it's official. Like, he's gonna be our responsibility.
We've told him what his full name is gonna be, and I've been calling him by his first and new middle name forever, which is my middle name, so Keith. And so I've been calling him that, and we've been teaching him his name, and it's the cutest thing. And like it literally, like, I could cry every time I hear this kid say his name to us, because it's been a long time coming. So we'll keep y'all updated on what's going on with that and that process and just everything. So this has been a good outlet for us too, just to like be able to connect and talk and get out some of the stuff that we've been thinking about. And that's ultimately what the purpose of Genuinity is. It's just for us to be genuine and be open and honest, because we know we didn't know of anything like this when we were going through this process. I'm sure there's podcasts about fostering out there, but I'm also sure there's people that are doing this with the intent of, I don't want to judge them or whatever, but with the intent of being influencers. Like, we have no intent of being influencers. We have 20 people that listened to our last episode. So it's like, we're not putting money behind this. We don't have, other than the actual equipment to do it. Like, I'm not paying for ads. We don't have a agency behind us. We don't have, marketing people we're not sponsored. Like, we're just doing this simply because, one, it's a desire of mine to create. And then 2, we know there's probably people out there that are interested in fostering and want to know what it's all about, like really know what it's about. And thankfully we had people that we had to seek out to get that information. And so if we could be that to other people, then awesome. And so that's kind of why we're doing Genuinity. And then also we're starting to plan out our, interviews with some of the closest people in our lives and start talking about the things that I really want to get down to, which I've been saying forever. It's just why we do the things we do and how we get through being human. Like, being human is freaking hard, and
being alive, being alive is not hard. Being alive and being an active participant in life is hard.
Yeah. I just saw a new movie, and there's a quote in it that said, "You live and you die, and it's about the in-between that matters." Mm-hmm. And there's other ways of saying it, like on a tombstone, you have the day you were born and the day you died, but it's that dash in between that really matters. Yeah. And it's freaking hard. Like, we're not here for a long time. Yeah. But we're here for a good time. Yeah. That was really cheesy, but
and we're investing ultimately in the people around us and the people that are closest to us. So
we appreciate everybody that's listening to this. We know it's not pop culture, and we know we're not having celebrities on, and we're talking about
celebrities to us in our world.
I'm a celebrity in my own mind, and we're not, talking about modern events and, or political things and stuff like that. That's just not it's not what this podcast is about. It's just about what it's like to figure crap out on your own, and how we get through what we're getting through and how other people do it. But yeah, so thanks for listening. And yeah, next episode coming out in another 2 weeks, and I think we're gonna cover marriage and marriage counseling.
You
probably don't know what that's from, do you? Marriage?
Is that Family Guy?
No.
No.
Way older than Family Guy.
Simpsons?
Way older than The Simpsons.
South Park?
It's not a TV show. It's a movie.
Oh, no idea.
Princess Bride.
Oh.
Anyways, wow, got a lot of work to do over here, guys. But we appreciate y'all, and we hope that y'all tune in next week. But make sure to
go follow us on Insta.
Exactly. Thanks for taking that. You know, I appreciate that, babe.
I saw you stumble in there. I saw your stumble face.
Trying to stumble into that. Yeah. But I was gonna say, like and subscribe. So I guess it's not subscribe. This isn't YouTube, but we are available on YouTube, Google, Amazon, and Apple now. So woo, I can say we're available everywhere you get your podcasts. But please like this episode, follow us on Spotify or subscribe or whatever it is on the platform that you're listening to right now. And please, yes, 100% go follow us on Instagram. We're going to post stuff about we're going to post stuff about, like I said, I want to post, that poem that I remember from a kid. But anyways, we appreciate y'all. Love y'all. And you'll hear from us in a couple weeks.
Soon.
Bye.
Bye.